Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy, 2011, the version with Gary Oldman. Right, my experience with John le Carre is extensive but not very positive. I have read a bunch of his books, seen a bunch of the movies based on the books, and overall I think his stuff is a little bit on the bland, slightly boring side, deliberately unexciting, quite mundane, and the George Smiley stories in particular are actually pretty hard going. He really does revel in the mundane. I find his stories are often very anticlimactic. So anyway, I watched this for the second time to completion. The first time I gave up at round about the half hour mark after the Cafe Burke scene. It's just a very boring movie that was far from gripping. I must have been inspired by watching something else to make me actually try the movie again, and I got to the end and I thought that was rather boring and deeply anticlimactic. And so now, a few years later, I have finished listening to the BBC Radio 4 full cast dramatisations of the George Smiley novels. That was maybe about 19 hours worth of listening, and it's again a lot of rather mundane, not very interesting stuff. The occasional strong scene, but overall just a bit drab, not particularly interesting, not particularly exciting, and often very, very anticlimactic. He really loved his abrupt endings. So, anyway, I listened to the 3 hour dramatisation of Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy, done for Radio 4. So after that, I might as well watch the movie. So I actually thought, you know what, I'll give the TV show another chance. I think it was an anniversary or something, the BBC, maybe 20 years ago, screened this again, and I watched the first episode and thought it was so slow and so boring that I did not continue. So I got a few minutes into this and then I thought, this is painful. This is 1979 BBC drama. This stuff will not have dated well at all. You know what? Instead of the, I don't know, 315-minute version, I will do the 2 hour 7-minute version, which is the movie. So I rewatched this, so I've seen this to completion for the second time, and again it's just very mundane. It's just not a very interesting story. I don't know why it's so iconic, why it's the definitive John le Carre story, why it's the most famous one, but it is, and it's just not very interesting. A very mundane story, and the way they filmed it, the way it's directed, the visual style, the pace, they really went, oh, you know what's really great fun? This mundane, plodding drabness, let's really push that forward, let's really emphasise how drab and workaday and unglamorous it is. I mean, this is the anti-Bonds, there's no excitement here, there's no big action, it's all very small and seedy and mundane. So if they were aiming to make a very mundane, slightly bland visual experience, then they certainly succeeded. I really didn't get much out of it, I did not enjoy it. It was watchable, it plodded along okay. It has, you know, the story is not inherently terrible, it's just not a very interesting story, it's a underwhelming story, but the story is, it's not that bad. It could just be told in a more energetic, slightly more dramatised way. It's all very under dramatised. So I did not really care for it. It was not a struggle to watch it. It was fine. It plods along to its underwhelming anticlimax, and it's all just deeply blah. Eh. So I would give it a generous 5 out of 10. It is perfectly watchable. It's just not a lot of fun.